Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode. I'm Jess.
I'm Erica.
Guys, have you watched our latest birthing story? We hope you have. If you haven't, please go and check it out on our Instagram. That's at mamas.code. And today we thought we would bring it to the podcast. So we have Jennifer who will be telling her story and journey with us.
Mama's Code.
Hi guys, I'm good, thank you. I'm Jennifer and I got two little boys. So one just turned 3 and the other one is 17 months. Very close gap.
Is it a handful?
I think now it's getting much better. Well, it's still a handful, but I think I'm enjoying it much more because they do everything together. They both go to the room together. They play there, they stay there. And I can actually have a bit of me time now, finally. At the beginning, it was just 2 babies. It was too stressful. Like now I can say that I actually enjoy it and it's the best thing I've ever done.
But before, did you think, oh, maybe I rushed into having another one too quick?
I always knew I wanted one after another, but my first, he was an angel. He was so good. And I could go out with him. I could do everything. He was such a chill baby. Until I had my second, the total opposite. Literally the total opposite. He will give me anxiety. Until now, I'm like, oh my God, he needs to sleep. He needs to nap. With the first, we had a routine, but he was very flexible. The second is by the clock. 1 minute late, 1 minute after, he kicks off bad. So I've actually learned if I stay at home or if I go out on his routine, their routine now, they're just very different.
Did you find that that happened naturally with him? Or did you try to just be as flexible as the first one and then you realised, hold on a minute?
Yeah, he was fussy from the beginning. I think me thinking to have 2, one after another, God just tricked me with giving me a good one. Like if I would have had Zach as my first child, I would have thought having one after a few months or after a year. Because Zayden was such a good baby. I thought, yeah, he's good. I can do this again.
It does always happen, you know. I've got a friend that her first, she says that her baby teethed for what seemed like a year. And she was constantly on the go. How the baby always like at a certain time. So it was like, I think 6 o'clock, she would say, todos los días, she would cry, but like hysterically. And she was like, it was just horrible. And she's obviously she has a really big gap. So her daughter's going to be 6 and she's going to have a new baby. And she's like, oh, God's going to give me a good baby. And I'm always like, what if it's worse? Because people always assume that, you know, that the second is the worst, isn't it? My one's the worst.
No, please don't honestly, say that. Because my first child is the devil.
My first child was an angel. And I thought, oh, yes. My second one is a wild child. He's not scared of anything. He literally gives me headaches. And because he's a bit like, for me, he's like my last baby. So I'm always like, oh. And he knows he can get away with shit. So he tests my patience even more. And I'm just like, oh, God. Like I can feel my grey hair growing.
I remember I used to have a friend that she used to be like kind of shaking and she would be like, no, I need to go home. It's her lunchtime. It's her nap time. And she would get so stressed out. And I was like, just relax, man. Like, why are you like this? I never understood how she was until I had Zach. Because with him, I was exactly like her. I would be sweating. Like, I would literally be sweating like, and having anxiety attacks. Sometimes I would be like, you know what? I don't want to go out. Because he will kick off so bad. He will start crying, like shouting non-stop. He will turn red, purple, blue, everything. I will try to do my best. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I was like, maybe he's got colic. Like I was like, his routine. Maybe he's teething. It was nothing. It was just his routine.
How was lockdown for you then? So the youngest is 17 months. I was gonna say. So when my child, obviously when we went into lockdown in March and he was just about to turn 1 in May. And obviously during that time, I didn't have to worry about going out. Oh my God, his nap, his eat, like, you know. And I was just like, okay, it's nap time. Like his routine was just so amazing that I didn't have to worry or stress about it. Because sometimes he would get a bit aggy in the evening. And it was like 6 p.m. he had to be asleep. And then during lockdown, I didn't have to worry about this. And I thought like coming out of it, I thought, oh my God, is he going to be terrible? But I think when it got to the summer months last year, I was like pushing him a bit later, because again, you can't really stick to one thing, and then you need, God forbid, you're out for 10 minutes longer, and then, so it must have been amazing for you.
The lockdown worked really good because then I would stay at home and do everything on his routine. But the problem that I found it hard, it was because my first, he was so good and I like going out to places. So every day we will have an activity to do. We will be going to the zoo. I had memberships everywhere. I was like, today we're going to the zoo. Today we're going to the swimming pool. Today we're going to this place, this other place. So that's how I will kind of do my everyday with my first. But then having a second, not being able to do nothing, I think that was a shock. It was literally boring, but I prefer to be bored than being stressed out with him in the street. Or I will just plan everything on his routine. So if he's awake for 3 hours, I will leave at that time and I will rush back before the 3 hours for his nap. I think now he's much more relaxed. Yeah, now I can enjoy him much more.
Because he's getting older now, so he can handle more.
Yeah, but he taught me discipline. I never really knew about discipline in the sense of, well, routine, I should say, about sleep and certain time. Zayden, you could put him to sleep anytime. He could wake up anytime. He was so chilled. He would sleep anywhere. Not my second. He would only sleep in the house.
Your first sounds like an angel baby. No, God tricked you and was like, ha!
Different personalities as well.
How do you balance that? Because obviously, I feel like with me, I've got 3-year age gap between my boys, and sometimes I feel like I favor what Caden wants more than what Joel wants, just to kind of like complacer al chiquito, because again, he's a bit of a grumpy shit, and I just kind of like, to avoid the tantrums, I'm just like, okay, even with toys, like normally we try to buy them the same, because Caden's he'll throw a hissy fit if he doesn't get Joel's toys. So like, say like for instance, we went Legoland the other day and we let Caden pick the sword he wanted, and he picked a black one, and he picked so there was 2 black ones. He picked one for him and one for his brother. But his brothers come in and said, no, I don't want the black one, I want the green one. So Caden was like, okay, we've gotten home and he doesn't want the black one anymore, he wants the green one. And I'm like, but we gave you the option, babe. Like, what is wrong with you? So now he constantly fights. Like, no, he wants the green one and the green one's there. So
is this the one he wouldn't let go of on his birthday?
Yeah, that one, yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, Joel, just, présteselo. Like, it's okay. But sometimes I also feel bad because I'm like, why am I taking away what's my son's? I should be teaching Caden, well, no, I'm sorry, you can cry and throw your fits, whatever, but, you've made a decision. But then how do I explain that to a 3-year-old? Like, well, no, things have consequences.
Yeah. Well, Zach, he's learned to talk much quicker than Zayden. So he's only 17 months, like 1 year and 5 months. But now he can say like 3-word sentence. Well, I'm a nurse, but I did a course in psychology in early years. And I'm also doing a course on neurology in early years. I took that as an advantage to teach my kids. And let's say I make them share everything, but I make them do by turns. And if they have a toy, I'm like, all right, Zayden, like, how long are you going to take this toy? I do everything on timers as well. So if you want a 5 minutes, okay, fine. And then it's baby's turn. And then I will tell Zach, I'm like, Zach, it's Zayden's turn. You wait until it's his turn, and then you can have it. And you should see Zayden, like Zach, he's just waiting, watching the sun timer. He's like, my turn. And then Zayden is like, no. But he will say the sun timer is empty, and he's like, okay, fine. Like, should we have another go? And then we'll flip it around. Like, my turn. It works sometimes. Other times it doesn't. Some other times they just go at each other. They know they have to share. I'm like, you guys are brothers. You guys gonna share, okay? And with water, I give them in a cup. And I'm like, okay, Zayden, it's your turn. And whilst it's Zayden's turn, Zach has to say the months of the year. So he's like, January, February, March, and then so on, so on. And when he's like, November, December, my turn. Y le arrancha. And then Zach will have it. And I'm like, Zayden, now you need to say the days of the week. And once you finish saying the days of the week, then it's your turn. Apart from learning, they also wait to be patient. And one person learns to be patient, but the other child also learns that, okay, it's coming. So I need to give back, to take turns. That's the way I do it, really. I'm like, you guys are brothers and you're caring. Like, you caring, you're sharing. Sharing is caring. Sometimes I will buy like an ice cream. I will buy each, in that sense. Like, I will buy each an ice cream. But whoever finishes first goes to the other one. He's like, we're brothers. Sharing is caring. And that's what Zayden will say to Zach. And I gave them like, when was it? Yesterday? I bought them a lollipop. Zacky's lollipop drop. Y se le partió la mitad. So I was like, you know what? Just have the little bit. So like Oyo, his one finished before. And then Zach kept going back to Zayden, brothers, Karen, brothers.
I thought you were going to
Karen.
say when they finish their ice cream, they're like, Mummy, you have to share with us and take your ice cream.
Oh, I don't like ice cream. Yeah,
Oh.
but if it was like cookies, I just wait until they go sleep. So I had enough of you, Karen and Sherry. I'm not sharing with you anything.
You could be like, well, I'm not your brother, so I'm not sharing with you.
That's a good point. I'm going to use that. Let me just give you a bit of background of me. Well, I'm a nurse, but I was working in cardiology for 5 years. So I was a cardiac nurse for 5 years. And I also used to take care of the ward. Like, I used to manage the ward. I used to be the nurse in charge on some shifts. But because it was cardiology, we used to have like heart attacks. And as I was in charge, I would be like, okay, I can see the monitors and this person is going to heart attack. I'll call the doctors, we will sort thetis out, take them surgery. So I was used to it. And because I worked in such a long time in St. George's Hospital, I thought, it's good. I know what I'm doing. So when I got pregnant with Zayden, I definitely went on to my nursing role. Also because I chose St. George's, I just thought, I work there, I know how it works, and I just feel comfortable.
Hold on a minute. I've got a question before I forget. You know, heart attacks, does it happen because your heart is going too fast or too slow, or can it happen whichever?
That's a heart rhythm.
So what's a heart attack? It just stops.
No, heart attack, it's literally a blockage in one of your arteries. When it stops, that's a cardiac arrest. That's when you need to do compressions. Heart attack, there's a blockage in your artery, and that's why you can still, like, have you seen on the movies that you're like, oh, it hurts, but it doesn't mean that he has stopped. It just means there's a blockage and it's causing you pain, and you get rushed to go surgery, and they put a stent to open up the little vein, and then blood starts flowing again.
Right.
Yeah, so cardiac arrest and heart attack are two different things. And heart rhythm is just like, you know how your heart goes like do do. That's a normal heart rate. And then you get different heart rates. One that goes like very fast, like fibrillation. That can go into cardiac arrest, not a heart rate, not a heart attack, but a cardiac arrest. And then you get different rhythms, just like very slow. Then one that will miss. One that will have 2 beats.
Oh my God, so you could possibly have a cardiac arrest on a treadmill if you're like old.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I need to chill at the gym then. I just
No,
need to start
like,
walking.
Jessica is a dickhead, honestly.
I just want pizza then.
She's just trying her luck. She just doesn't want to go back to the gym.
I'm like, listen, that's not an excuse.
All right,
if you're
continue.
healthy and if you don't have any problems, you should go gym.
All right, back to the birth story. Sorry guys, you learn something new every day.
No, espérate. Jess has been posted every morning because she wakes up early to go gym. Tomorrow she's going to be like, so yesterday I spoke to a nurse and she said I can have cardiac arrest on the treadmill, so I've decided to stop.
As long as you're healthy, you should actually go and keep running, because that will prevent from heart attack. So whenever you want to keep up, just think, I'm going to get a heart attack. Keep running.
And when it happens, I'll think, damn, Jennifer was so wrong.
So I was 40 weeks and I think I was like 6 days and 6 days. So I remember I was with my husband, we were in Nando's, and every day I would literally wake up and I was hoping to see, I don't know, like the gush of water just bursting out in the films. It never happened. Like it wasn't happening. And so on Thursday, and every time I would keep on saying, I was like, I think I'm giving birth. I think I'm giving birth today. But whilst we were eating, I was like, oh, I think I'm getting a bit of a pain. He was like, for real? And I was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's just carry on eating. Then I got the pain. It was a bit more pain. I was like, no. I was like, listen, I think it's real. I was like, I'm sure I'm not making up the pain. I was like, I know when I make up things, but I think this is real. We went home, and during that night, then contractions started, and it was painful. It was painful. Like, when you try to, like, you're so tired that you want to go sleep, that you kind of half sleep, but feeling the pain, waking up and just going back to sleep. So that was all Thursday. On Friday in the morning, they said, should we take you to hospital? And I was like, no, I know it's not happening, because I did that labor course that the hospital gives to first-time moms. So I think it's every mom now. And they said, only when you can't hack the pain, then you come hospital, and otherwise we will send you back. And I was like, no, like, we're going to stay for a bit longer. And they said, all right, fine, let's go to Battersea Park. Let's go for a walk. Apparently that helps. We went to Battersea Park, and I just felt like I peed myself a little bit, but it was just a little bit. It wasn't how I was expecting in, like, in films, just literally like water gallons dropping, and I don't know, that's how I thought it was. But mine was just like, also I was prepared. I went with a nappy.
Oh my God.
Just in case. But I was like, no, I just peed a little bit. I was like,
a baby nappy all for you?
Yeah, baby nappy, because I had an idea that it was gallons. And then I was like, no, I just peed myself a little bit. So I gave 2 steps, like a few more steps. And I was like, oh, I peed myself again a little bit. I was like, okay, this is a bit weird. I was thinking, I feel like I'm incontinent. I can't hold it, and I can't stop it when it's coming out. We just carried on. Like, we literally went back home, and I was like, okay, this is not normal. I was like, this is not normal. Because I'm a nurse, I'm bloody self-diagnosing all the time. Hold on. After cardiology, I actually worked in sexual health clinic for 3 years. So I used to do the SME tests. That means I could touch cervix. I would do the cervix, everything. Whilst I was pregnant, I used to be like, oh my God, let me touch my cervix and see if I'm dilated. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to self-diagnose that I'm leaking, that my water's leaking rather than that it's been broken. So I called the midwives, and they said, okay, you know what? Just come so we can check and confirm whether it's just you peeing yourself or just that's your water. So I went to the hospital, and they did a scan, but they realized that the water was there. It ruptured from the top, not the bottom, because apparently if it ruptures from the bottom, that's when, like, the glass goes. Like, from the top, mine was just every movement I make, like, the water will push up and it will leak from the sides.
Right.
So they sent me back home, and they said, if it doesn't happen, nothing within, and I wasn't dilated, I was only like 1 or 2 centimeters dilated. They said that it might get more, the contractions will get worse. And if they do, or the water fully breaks, then to give them a call back. And if nothing happens, they will need to induce me in the next 24 hours. So when I went back home, all the pain was gone. Yeah, so on Saturday I had to go midday because I was already 24 hours, and they had to induce me, and it was terrible. They put the capsules. I can't remember what's the name of it. They put that. I was having terrible, terrible, terrible pains, and they said they were going to give me some injections because I wasn't dilating. By this point, I turned into such a nurse mode, and they say that the worst patients are nurses. I can actually say it's so true. I had patients that have been nurses and they've been the worst, and I've been a patient myself, and I think I've been the worst. I was in so much pain and I was shouting, and I remember my husband said to the midwife, I'm very scared of needles. And I was like, no, wait, I'm not ready for a needle yet. And then my husband said, just put it on. Just give it to her. Give it to her while she's having a contraction. How can you say give it to her while she's having a contraction? I actually felt like I was possessed. I turned back to him and I was like, it's my body, my choice. And then I turned to the midwife and I go to the midwife. I was like, and you can't touch me without my consent. If you do anything without my consent, I'm going to report you to the NMC. I was like, I was so drugged up. I was like, I'll remember your name and I will ask for your PIN. That PIN is your ID, like your nursing ID. Like, I hope she listens to this at some point ever in her life. And if she ever remembers me, I want to apologize to her. I would just kept shouting like nonsense stuff, like very nursing. And I was like, oh, what else was I shouting? I don't know. It was just like, you can't touch me without my consent. You haven't asked for my permission. What's the guidelines? Like, it was terrible. I was terrible. I just remember, I can't even remember how long it was, but the pain was terrible, 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 terrible. And that was since Thursday. This was like Saturday already. So they said they're going to give me an epidural because it was just so long and I wasn't dilating. So they gave me epidural. I think it was on Saturday night. And to be honest, it was the best thing I ever had. It completely numbed me and I could actually sleep that night. And they said, like, you need to deliver this baby. I think I was already like 6 centimeters. And I remember all my family in Ecuador, they kept saying, like, why are you waiting for so long? Why don't you have a C-section? But everyone in my family has had a C-section. And I really wanted to have natural birth.
But by choice, or was it because they needed
Do you know
it?
what? The NHS in here, they actually push people to have, like, they push people not to have C-sections, to give natural birth because it actually is cheaper. So if we're talking about NHS budgeting, you want them to have natural birth. It's also less complications, less chances of infection, and you get discharged quicker, which if you get discharged quicker, there's more space, like bed space available. So you can get more patients in. It's everything like to do with money as well as care.
But for your family that all had C-section, was it just their choice to?
No one used, like, they couldn't dilate.
Oh, so they they couldn't just tell you ask for a C-section.
Yeah, my sister dilated up to 3 and she was the furthest that went. I think me dilating 6, I was already winning. But because it was so long, they said keep having it, just have a C-section. Listen, you're giving birth, whereby C-section, natural birth, you're still giving a birth, like you're still giving birth, you're still a mother and you're still having a child. But for me, it was just because no one had natural birth in my family. I wanted to have a natural birth. So I don't know, I just could see it. And I just wanted to have the experience of pushing. Yeah, anyway, so after I had my epidural, they attached it to the monitor, and it's very similar to the heart monitor. So I was pain-free, I was much more relaxed, and I had a monitor. So I was like, oh yeah, I could monitor my blood pressure, my heart rate, my breathing. I could see the baby's heart rate. I actually went on a nurse's role, and I was like, oh yeah, a contraction is coming. Not because I could feel it, but because I could see in the monitor.
You didn't need anyone there then.
No. They gave me gas and air when they were putting the epidural. This is actually quite funny. So I was still having the gas and air just because it felt so good. I think it's the best thing, to be honest. Like, I would get pregnant again just so I can have gas and air. I know some people don't like it, but for me, it was amazing. And because I'm really scared of needles, they were putting a cannula, and I kept on having gas and air, and I was like, and at some point I started hallucinating. I gave them like my hand, and I remember clearly I closed my eyes and I was in Thailand. I was telling my husband, I was like, I'm in Thailand. I was like, look, I'm sitting. Like, I was sitting on a swing, inside the sea, on a swing in Thailand. And then I actually persuaded my husband to have some gas and air.
So you could both be in Thailand.
So he was sitting next to me, and my mum was in the corner. And I was like, have some, have some. And I was like, trust me, it's good, have some. So my husband started having some gas and air, and he just sat back. And he doesn't smoke. He's never smoked. He's never drank any alcohol. He's never done any drugs. So that was like the first time he felt something. So he just sat back, and he was like, this is good, Like, we have some videos of me giving birth, but it was just like me and him getting high with gas and air. And then he looked at my mum, and whilst he was having, he was like, Senora, have some. And the way my mum looked at us, like, my mom is very traditional. The way my mom looked at us, she was like, ay, no, ustedes que parecen unos marihuaneros. And I was,
you guys look like crackheads.
Anyways, so by the time it came, they came to check, and they said that I was actually dilated for 10 already, which I never felt any contractions, so I was relaxed. But they said, okay, we're going to prepare you everything, and you're going to start pushing. And I was like, okay, fine. I was like, listen, this is a teamwork. I'm a nurse with a midwife. I was like, I'm a nurse. I can see the monitor, so I'm going to do it myself. Like, I know when to do it. At the beginning, I was relaxed and everything. And I saw the monitor. The monitor, I could see it was becoming a contraction. So I started pushing. The contraction was going, and I would kind of relax and stop pushing. Again, calming the contraction, push. But nothing was happening for after like 30 minutes. By then, the baby's heart rate started like dropping like rapidly.
Do you think nothing was happening because you couldn't feel when you needed to push? Like, you didn't have full control of your body?
I didn't have full control of my body, but because I knew how the monitor works, I could see the monitor. So I was in control of the monitor. I think being a nurse, it gave me the advantage of me just pushing without any pain, but knowing when to push. So exactly, it was like, even the midwife was saying, push, relax. I could still feel a little bit of pain, but it wasn't as much. Anyway, so after 30 minutes, I was just too tired. I was so tired that nothing was happening. I didn't want to give up, but I'm just tired. Like, I need a break. And my baby's heart rate started dropping rapidly. So the midwife, they pushed the alarm. A lot of doctors, literally, they rush like nurses, doctors. They bought a resource trolley, but because this is what we used to do in cardiology, we will rush to someone with resource trolleys to adults. I was like, this is so normal. This is so normal. I was like, all right, fine. I was like, who do we have here? But at this point, my mum just walked out crying because she saw so many people, like the trolleys bringing, like, so I had 3 people in my room. I had my mum, I had my mum, my sister, and my husband. My husband was on my side. My mum walked out, which at that point, I remember me with my legs open, my mum walking across, and I could see her like in between my legs. I was just so worried for her, the way she walked out crying. I wasn't worried about me. I wasn't worried about the baby because the research trolleys were there and there was many people, like there was many staff. So we were fine. Also, my sister was recording all this.
Can I ask something? What's a resus trolley?
You know, it's the red trolley that they have a defibrillator. They have all the...
Okay.
So if someone goes on cardiac arrest, they bring
They
that
can
trolley.
resist, yeah.
They can resuscitate and they give like chest compressions. So it's all the medications. They will put bloods. Well, they don't have bloods in there, but they will put all the fluids, everything. That you have everything for an emergency. The midwife, they said that, well, this is an emergency. They can't do nothing. The midwife actually passed it on to the surgeon. The surgeon came, he checked, well, she checked, it was a female. She checked and his head was too low in the birth canal to go for a emergency C-section. So it was his head was just too low. I couldn't go for a C-section. But he wasn't coming out because he actually turned his head sideways. Vacuum suction. I will need to deliver my baby through the vacuum suction. I was like, yeah, fine. I was just too tired. I was too tired. I just felt like I did a night shift and I was finishing the day shift. Oh, like I felt like doing a 24-hour
I mean,
shift.
and also, what are you supposed to do with that information? Well, he's stuck. You need to get him out. Like, it's not like I've got an option.
I was like, you guys do whatever you want to do. Like, I don't know if you ever heard, or have you guys ever had a story about suction? It's terrible. They put your fist because they have to attach. It's like a cup. They attach to the baby's head and it literally suctions to go out. But for them to attach it, they need to fist you up. Basically, they need to put your fist up your cervix and attach it to the head. I think Jessica can see your face.
Guys, cardiac arrest going on over here.
Let me tell you, when she pulled the cup up, that shit burned so bad.
Is it really big?
I never saw the cup, but I guess it must be like this. But like they need to pull this much up their hand, not just in your vagina, but up your cervix to attach to the baby's head. I think delivering the baby wasn't as painful as someone fisting you. When they attach that to the baby's head, the suction, I think it's like como ¿cómo se dice? Una gata para carro. Yeah, it's una gata or something like that. Como que le jalan. And I remember they just told me to hold tight to the bed because every time they kept pushing, pulling, I was sliding down. And it was like, you know how you see cows giving birth? Like, I don't know if you ever seen in Discovery Channel, like how a cow gives birth and they literally pull them and pull them and pull them. That's how it was for me. And they said, you know what, it's not coming out. We need to cut. So I didn't tear or something. Yo no me rajé. They actually cut me from my vagina to my butthole. Guys, I can see your face.
Stop it. My anus is hurting. My perineum.
Yeah, so they cut me. I didn't feel the pain.
Literally from end to end.
Yeah. I didn't feel the pain, but I remember I heard the snap. Imagine it was like an elastic that it just snapped like.
Oh my god.
Like that. That's how it felt and that's how it heard. My sister from her side, from the other side, She said, she was like, oh my God, it was like such a horror movie. Like as soon as they cut, there was like blood splashing out, like how you see in movies. It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt, but I felt the skin. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, imagine your skin being really stretched and then suddenly it snaps. So they pushed him, like they pulled him out, but it was literally like a cow. Like me giving birth, they treat me like a cow. When he came out, his heart rate was very low. He went to intensive care. Like he swallowed some fluids. They took him ICU. And after they said, they were gonna stitch me back. That was painful. I just kept shouting. I was like, no, it hurts. I was like, I need more. I need something. I was like, it's not numb yet. They're trying to pull an
Wait, so by this point they had taken the epidural off?
No. They haven't
But
taken
you
the
can still
epidural
feel
off,
it.
but I could still feel it. Yeah, it was. You could still feel they were stitching up,
Yeah,
and and they were putting me injections like around the area to numb it. It wasn't enough. That was very, very painful. Like I could feel the needle going in.
Yeah, my stitches hurt more than having my baby. It was so painful. Like I could feel the needle go in every hole, and when they were pulling it, oh my God, it was so painful.
Mine was exactly the same, and I kept on saying, I was like, no, I can still feel it. Like add a bit more.
Mama, I love you.
When I went to intensive care to see him, the way he was born, I never knew because of the suction is such a force that the head shape.
Can I ask something? Did you get skin to skin with him?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
When he came out, I was the first time mom, so I didn't know. He just felt like wet and floppy. He was just like, he's my baby, but I was just scared. I was literally scared. Like they just put him on my chest. And I just remember it was something floppy and wet and slimy.
Would you say that, that people say, oh, you feel this endless love? Would you say you felt that?
No, because even when they were about to take him to ITU, they said, oh, do you want to say bye to your baby? And maybe because I had so much drugs and especially gas and air, I was like, yeah, take him. And I was like, take who? I was like, who are they going to take? And after I was like, oh shit. And they were like, your baby.
I definitely think it was the drugs. Because I for my first, I had a lot of gas and air. And I remember like they were trying to force me to give him like breast, like put him on my breast. And I was just like, oh. And then there was a point that my sister had to go out and buy a formula, but she had to get, a líquido, because they don't accept the powder in the hospital. And I told the midwife, so I was like to the midwife, oh, my sister's gone to get it. She just called me. And my husband was looking at me like, when did she call you, Erica? And I was like, I just spoke to her. My phone was away, like it had been locked away with him. And he was like, at what point? I have your phone. And Ollie was just looking at the midwife like, she's gone crazy. Like she hasn't had her phone.
Yeah, I think that's how you start hallucinating with gas and air. I went on a big holiday. I was in Thailand. When I went down to IT, I remember that was the first time I proper saw him. He looked terrible. Like his head was so long. Like it literally looked like an ice cream cone. Like,
did it creep you out?
I was just scared his head might remain like that. Like that was an ugly baby's head. I don't want to say an ugly baby. He was cute, but his head was terrible. Like it was some ugly head. I'm going to send you a picture of how his head was. Like, it literally looked like a head on top of a head. Bless him. They wanted to keep me for 5 days, but we ended up staying for 3 days. After they came and they said if I needed counseling, if I wanted to speak to someone, because how traumatic my birth was. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, it was birth. Like, I gave birth. Like, we did a good teamwork, guys. And I was like, no. I was like, no, it's fine. And they were like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, for me, the resource trolley, even him going to intensive care, I wasn't really upset. I was like, it's part of hospital. Like, I've seen patients go into intensive care. It's fine. Like, he's going to come out. I knew he was going to come out. So I never thought nothing wrong with it. I actually thought that's how births are. All I've seen on films is births are painful. Mine was painful and I had a baby until I actually had my second child, which my second child was pretty straightforward. Get contractions. I think I started getting contractions at 6 and I had him like 3 a.m. Me comparing both, I just realized after my second, like, shit, my first was traumatic.
How did you feel when you got home, whether it was the next day, the same day, 3 days later? That moment when you get home and you realize, oh my God, there's a human here. What do we do? Like, how did that feel for you? Because I feel like for the most part, it doesn't really hit you until like a few days in. Like, I feel like you know there's a baby there, but I don't feel like you fully digest because you're still in that moment that you've given birth, and if you've had a traumatic labor and, your brain is kind of focused there. Yes, you feel like, oh, my baby, but I don't think it really hits you.
Yeah. I think because I stayed in hospital, I can't remember how many days I stayed. Let's just say I stayed 3. Like, we didn't go home straight after. So I had those days to actually think I have a baby, and I got used to having a baby in hospital, so we were quite happy to go home. But with my second, because it was quick, I had him 3 a.m. and I got discharged 12 midday. It just happened so quick that when I went home with my second, that's when I was like, oh shit, I just given birth. I was like, oh my God, I got 2. It wasn't just 1, it was 2. And I think he hit me more like that with the second. Also, the stitches, I think it just played a lot, me being a nurse, because with the stitches, I feel like someone that doesn't know, they're a bit more wary, they're a bit more cautious. And they might, like, I know quite a few people that were like, I don't want to walk because of my stitches. Or I'm scared I sit down, or I'm scared I even have a poo. I'm scared to have a wee because it burns. But because I was a nurse, I was like, you know what? It's going to burn. Urine is salty. I have a wound. It's going to burn. Deal with it. Like, me sitting down, I could feel it was stretching, but I know it does feel like it's going to open up. It's going to rip. But because I was a nurse, I'm like, no, it's well stitched. It's not going to break. This is literally the feeling.
But even when you did a poo, because like I ripped for my first from vagina to bum as well. And on top of it ripping, I was constipated. So I couldn't poo for a long time. And, I tried like orange juice with olive oil, like for a week. But it was the fear of like, I tenía las ganas. But I think it was because I hadn't gone so long. I felt like, okay, I'm constipated. The poo's going to be very hard. That's going to rip straight through me. I thought, it's going to I'm having another Joel. I literally thought it's another baby coming out, but from my bum hole, and I'm going to rip. I literally thought that, and I thought, nah. Like, I've told a lot of people this, that, I had to squat on the floor and take a poo because, I when you sweat buckets and you're like, oh, Dios mío, ¿cómo voy a hacer esto? Like, I felt like I should have kept that poo, actually. I worked very hard for it because, oh my God, it was like so painful. But once after that one kind of passed, and, I got sent like laxatives. So obviously added kind of like water to my stool. It did kind of make it better. But that first one, and I think it was the combination, being constipated and obviously the fear of me pushing and you feeling como that skin stretch. I thought, nah, this is it. I literally envisioned blood everywhere and like my like vagina lips just hanging there, and you can see like everything. Like, literally, I'm an overthinker, so I literally was like, yep, this is it. If I poo, this is what's gonna happen. And even till now, like, I've always shared it, like even during sex, when like the and then it hits the perineum, I'm like, nah, that's it. Like, turn off completely. Like, just let me go to sleep, because I literally feel like I have PTSD because it marks my life forever. Like, ripping that part there, 10 out of 10, worst things. Do not recommend.
Do not recommend. Like, people are gonna go choose that option. But then, is there actually a chance for you to rip? Is that actually a possibility, or you have to be like very like 1 in a million?
I don't know how. I don't really know. But remember, they cut me. So they cut, rather than me ripping, like it depends how much they rip. Whereas it cut is like much deeper. It's like the muscle. So I presume that they must have stitched me well.
Well, I mean, you had a traumatic birth and you decided to have one shortly after. I don't think you trauma was in any sense. Even if, like, you know, we see, and just the same way where people kind of like often think, oh, you know, births are meant to be very quick because como en las películas, you know, you see like, oh, pain, okay, I'm going to have my baby now. And I think we mostly get that conception from films. That's why in the first pain we feel, we're calling the hospital like, yep, it's time. But the reality is, no, you're probably going to be there for like a day or two waiting for contractions to progress. So yeah, perhaps it was that. So usually to the end of our episodes, we like to finish off with a golden tip, and you've obviously touched on a lot today. What would be your golden tip for new mums, or maybe mums that are going to go for the second, third, fourth, fifth?
I think I've been a mum and I've been a nurse. You know what? Trust on the medical staff. Like, they know what they're doing. This is not the first time. They've done so many times. They know what they're doing. Literally have trust in them. Also, after working in sexual health clinic, I've learned not to be embarrassed, because there were so many females and males that will come, put their pants down and show me everything. And for us, it's like, this is our job. We do it every day. So we don't see it. We're not embarrassed. It's just like, get on with it. But there was many patients that they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so scared. And for first-time mums, it can be very embarrassing to go there, open your legs, and someone just checking. But from the other side of a medical staff, listen, we don't see vaginas. We don't see whether your vagina is hairy, have you shaved, is it pretty, is it ugly? No, for us, it's just a vagina. But try not to be embarrassed as much as you can.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I will definitely be taking that golden tip, because I'm taking on laser, and my friend told me that I have to open my butt cheeks, so she's going to see my anus, and I'm petrified. So I guess it's her job, and she's seen a lot of anuses.
So if you can't do it, come to me. I have a look.
And for this Sunday coming, we want to wish you beautiful men out there a happy Father's Day.
Don't forget to give them some blowjobs. Mama's going out.
Mama's Code.